All to Jesus I surrender, all to Him I freely give.
Hello, Forever Family. Today we're going to be talking about the beauty of influence and the ugliness of manipulation. In thinking about how to approach this, I thought about a parallel that I think is pretty illustrative of the difference between the two. And that's the difference between a compliment and flattery. How a compliment comes from a genuine attempt to build somebody up. Flattery, on the other hand, is simply an attempt to manipulate them, to use them in some way. Janet, I realize that I don't tell you often enough what a wonderful job you do as the church secretary here, and how blessed we are to have you doing this. And Janet, I'm just in awe of your time management skills. And I realize this is asking a lot, okay? I've got all this material that I need copied and collated, and I know it's 11 o'clock. I really need this by noon, and I know that you can deal with this, you can do this. And I know that's really going to push you and put you in a bind, but if anybody can handle it, I know it's Janet Strain. Hey, B.
Hey.
I really appreciated the song service yesterday and the way you led worship. You did a great job. You really did. I really enjoyed that. There's just one thing. You know, when Terry leads singing, he always leads songs during communion. And I really enjoy that. And I don't want to pressure you or anything like that, but I just think it would really enhance your song leading. I hope you've seen in a humorous way the ugliness of manipulation being illustrated. And the fact is that manipulation really is an ugly thing. I don't know of anybody who likes to feel like they're being manipulated. We resent that. We feel used. We don't like that. You know, it's interesting. Scripture contains a number of examples of people attempting to manipulate other people. For instance, old Haman in the book of Esther, he manipulates Ahasuerus into putting out that edict about destroying the Jews. And of course, ends up paying his life for it, but nevertheless, he's trying to manipulate Ahasuerus, back him to a corner and get him to do something that Ahasuerus wouldn't have done. The same way later on in the book of Daniel with Darius. The men who hate Daniel and want to get rid of him figure out a way to do that. They go to Darius and they say, Darius, we think it'd be a great idea if for the next 30 days people didn't pray to anybody but you, no other God, nobody but you. And if they do, they get thrown into the lion's den. What do you think? We'll put that in the law of the Medes and Persians. It can't be changed. And of course, Darius goes along with it and then finds out that he's been manipulated into trying to destroy Daniel. And of course, you know, that doesn't work out so well for those guys either later on. You go to the New Testament, probably to me the penultimate example there of manipulation is when Jesus is being tried before Pilate. And Pilate obviously is very reluctant to convict him. He knows that he's an innocent man. But what do the Jews do? In John chapter 19, if you let him go, you are no friend of Caesar's. Now what are they doing? They are manipulating Pilate. They're telling him, listen, bud, if you let him go, we'll go to Caesar over this, and you're going to come off not looking very good. That's the ugliness of manipulation. And that's something that you and I need to rise above, okay? We're not called to manipulate because God doesn't manipulate, brothers and sisters. You never find an example of him manipulating. Influencing, oh yeah. You look at Jesus' life, and you don't see Jesus going around manipulating people. You do see Jesus having tremendous influence on others through his example and through his words. And Influence is a beautiful thing. I know my life has been enhanced, and I'm sure that yours have too, by being influenced by saints. And when I use the word saint, I'm using it like it's used in Scripture. Holy ones. People whose lives are dedicated to God and are truly trying to live to serve Him. As I've said on multiple occasions, it's a wonderful thing to study the concept of forgiveness, to study what it means to show mercy or to talk about forgiveness. But it's entirely another thing to see it lived and to be influenced by someone, for instance, who's truly hospitable, who has a real spirit of giving, someone who's been deeply hurt and has forgiven, someone who teaches us faithfulness by the faithfulness they show in caring for their mate. That kind of influence is life-changing, undeniable, incredibly positive. And influence builds relationships. It strengthens relationships. It doesn't destroy relationships. Manipulation, trying to get somebody to do something that they may not want to do, to move them to accomplish some end that you have in mind. Again, using them to me cheapens relationships and all too often ultimately destroys them. And you may get your way, but look at the price that's paid for that. On the other hand, the beauty of influence and the power of influence just goes on and strengthens all those that are touched by it. And so as you discuss this today, I would encourage you to really consider the beauty of influence and the ugliness of manipulation. God bless you in your discussion. Thank you.
Take my life and let it be all for you and for your glory. Take my life and let it be yours.